And now they want the SKS on there. I bet
Of course
you
they
there's
do.
500,000 SKSs in Canada.
Of course they do. That's everybody's first gun show rifle because it's cheap, it's customizable, it's cheap to shoot, and they know that. They know that. This is just an absolute nightmare. It's every time they announce something, it gets even worse. And they are, as you said, willing to screw the entire country over to buy votes in Quebec. And we knew that when they hand-selected the head of police Souviant, Natalie Provost, to be one of their candidates there. I knew that that meant that they were going to not just continue with Justin Trudeau's gun grab, but lean harder into it. And this is what we're seeing.
Yeah, the notion of them not wanting compliance and wanting something to hold over the heads of probably two or 3 or 400,000 Canadians.
Yeah.
Like I would, I don't like to jump on things like that. And it's like, oh, this is what they want. They want non-compliance. They want to be able to raid your home and put you in handcuffs and destroy your life. Like for people like you and me, a criminal charge, a weapons charge, much less whatever, how many guns do people have that are on this list? Like what, 16 of them?
Yeah.
16 counts of unauthorized possession of a prohibited firearm. That equals machine gun in the eyes of the law. I'm reluctant to believe, oh yeah, the government wants this. They absolutely want it. These people are not stupid. They're doing this for a reason. And I normally don't talk like this, but holy smokes, man. I can't even believe it myself.
Yeah, it's not a conspiracy theory when it turns into a conspiracy fact real quick. I mean, this is the same sinister and, as you say, diabolical, what a great word for this, government that froze people's bank accounts because they supported a peaceful resistance movement. You think they wouldn't hang a criminal charge or several criminal charges over your head just to shut you up because you're a thorn in the side of the government? Absolutely they would.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they'll be coming after me and you and everyone else that is law-abiding, that, like a criminal charge like this would destroy my life.
Yeah.
And of course, criminals, like none of this has anything to do with criminals, doesn't affect the lives of criminals one iota. But even if it did, the criminals are like, yeah, add it to my rap sheet. That gives me credibility in jail anyway. Like it doesn't even register in the minds of people that would hurt other people. Only to people like us, the producing, law-abiding, beneficial aspect of Canadian society, directly targeted. So I don't know. At this point in our system, obviously, the only thing that can pull this back is a majority or a minority government. That's the only thing that can stop this, other than, trying to wreck everything, some big civil war. But it's going to destroy everything we built over 150 years. It's going to create a big power vacuum. People talk like that, but I don't know that you want the reality there. So that is the only way out, is somehow getting a hold of the government and the system as it is today. And I don't know when that's going to happen.
I guess there's a silver lining in some of this, is that depending on which province that you're in, and Doug Ford's province is shockingly conservative on this issue, which surprised even me. But as we earlier discussed, the rollout of this program is starting in Cape Breton. Apparently, the police there have agreed to participate in this, but Ontario has said they're not going to direct their police resources to any sort of gun grab. Alberta has said repeatedly, look, we're not doing this. We've got actual bad guys to harass and not our friends and neighbors. But British Columbia has said, yeah, sure, we're proud to stand up for the law, I guess, even if it's a bad law. I mean, BC has a crime problem, a gang problem, a fentanyl super lab problem that is throwing a monkey wrench into our relationship with the Americans.
Cartels.
And yet this is where the BC government, led by the NDP, would see fit to direct their police resources. It won't make one bit of difference in crime on paper.
Yeah, they're
at
absolute
all.
lunatics.
Yeah.
Total lunatics. Like, this has gone so far beyond a difference of opinion or different politics. It's gone so far beyond all that. I don't know how it gets turned around. I just don't know.
I think Saskatchewan has said the same thing. I don't want to leave them out because they've really sort of been leading the way. but honestly, Alberta's been stealing their good ideas for a while. And I say that as an Albertan, you know, like having a chief firearms officer, having a, you know, associate minister of fighting with the federal government, you know, being strong on the carbon tax. A lot of good ideas come out of Saskatchewan where they're just a little bit less showboaty than Alberta is. But I'm happy that there are some provinces where it is still safe to be a firearms owner. But I would hate to be somebody in the interior of BC where firearms ownership is a way of life, being treated like a gangster in, you know, the lower mainland.
Yeah, and I think it's really important for people to know kind of what's going on with the Alberta government with their proposals. They have obviously the legislation that prevents confiscation agents, and they're working on the Alberta firearms license. So I have met with the Alberta government 1 week ago. And the problem is, and people should know this because this is important, especially if you're in Alberta, the problem is this is very complicated. And the Alberta government is working on it. I know people get frustrated and they lose their patience, and now they want to lash out at even their allies in the Alberta government. You got to be really careful about that. So I'll tell you what the problem is. The problem is that the province has jurisdiction over property rights. The federal government has jurisdiction over criminal behavior, in this case, the Criminal Code and the Firearms Act. If you are in peaceful possession of a firearm in Alberta, no problem. That's the jurisdiction of the province. The issue is if the federal government ends the amnesty, everyone that has these firearms are now in unlawful, unauthorized possession of a prohibited firearm. That triggers the Criminal Code. And now, even let's say the Calgary police are obligated to serve a warrant on your home because now you are actually truly a criminal. So it doesn't, an Alberta firearms license doesn't protect you. Now they're working on it, but I just want people to understand these are very complicated problems. Your government is working on it, but it's not something they can do in a week or just scratch a note on a piece of paper and file it in the legislature, right? So you got to be patient, keep the pressure up, but don't cut your nose off to spite your face. And that happens in the firearm community.
Yep.
It's happening all over the place. Be really careful that you have a plan for both success and failure in your political goals so that you don't end up hurting yourself later. Because the last thing you want is if, let's say, and I was just mentioning this at the conference on the weekend, if there's a bid for independence in Alberta, and I think a lot of people are going all in on independence, don't worry, it's going to happen, and we can beat up on the UCP if they're not working fast enough. Well, what happens if you are unsuccessful in leaving Confederation? Now you beat up on the party that was helping you in so many ways. Then there's an election and you end up with the NDP and you think you're hurting now, you'll be hurting a lot worse then. Right.
That's such a great point. I do know the UCP is working very hard behind the scenes to protect law-abiding Canadian gun owners. In a way that I don't think the other provinces really are. They're being as creative as they possibly can on this issue, but they do find themselves in this zone of competing jurisdiction. And the firearms community does feel a sense of urgency, especially when there's the payout system will run out of money very quickly. And so, yeah, I get why they would stop and direct that urgency to the United Conservative Party, because the United Conservative Party has been responsive to them when it's pretty clear that the Liberals couldn't give a damn about us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a difficult situation. It's very nuanced, right?
Yeah.
And as I said, we have the same problem in the firearms community. Mm-hmm. People are so frustrated. They're so angry. It's like, yeah, and absolutely justifiably so. But they turn around and they start beating up on their allies, right? It's and throwing out all these purity tests.
Yeah.
So if people are saying to the CCFR, you should be advocating non-compliance. Like, I can't counsel you to commit a criminal offense because that's a problem for me. And if the CCFR goes down, that's a real problem for all gun owners, right? So it's like you got to, and I mean, it's almost like I'm telling you this, Sheila, because I'm telling myself.
Right.
You got to take it easy, take it down a couple notches.
Yeah.
think about your situation, how you're going to solve this problem, what your options are. And the last thing we need is division in our community.
Yeah.
We just need to keep pushing forward. And I'm hoping that if you asked me 4 months ago, I would have said this government's going to last 3 years and they're going to finish the job that Trudeau started. But more and more, I'm thinking this government might not last another year. And that's going to be our Hail Mary. So hopefully we can get an election. We can elect a minority or majority government, warts and all, but we can work to within the party to get things headed in the right direction. And maybe we'll be able to get out of this without things getting worse than they are right now.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes in the pursuit of perfection, people end up with failure. And I don't want that, because I really don't think it could possibly be worse than it is right now. Maybe an NDP government, but also, what's the difference between the Liberals and an NDP government right now? Anyway, I'm glad to hear that you're hopeful that this government might not last. I mean, this Gary and Sangre business is becoming a real problem for Mark Carney. He said he stands with the minister, and I still don't understand why Gary and Sangre is the minister at all, given his ties to Tamil extremism that were so deep that the Sri Lankan Foreign Ministry warned us about it back when his nomination papers were signed, the better part of a decade ago. So I think maybe Gary and Sangre was selected because he was just dumb enough to do the job without asking questions.
Exactly. He was selected for the same reason Marco Mendocino was selected.
Yes.
They just needed some dum-dum to throw in there to get tarred and feathered, right, by the press, by gun owners, whatever, just to be a placeholder, to be tossed aside and backbenched later once he's been used up, and just keep this whole disarmament campaign going. Yeah. So that's, you have really two kinds of ministers, right? You have the dum-dums, and I usually don't use language like that, but it is what it is, like Gary and Mendocino.
Fraser.
And then you have the foot soldiers, right? Like Bill Blair.
Yeah, Dominic LeBlanc, those guys.
These are seriously bad people, and this is how they keep that agenda rolling forward.
On that dark note, Rod, thank you so much for giving me some time to explain this to me, because as I said, I've been in the ostrich universe for a few days. But please tell us about what the CCFR is working on right now and how people can get involved, because you do a very important work constantly. We might not hear about all the work that you're doing, but I know you and Tracy are constantly grinding the gears behind the scenes on behalf of law-abiding Canadians.
Well, our last project was our election project. We were the 5th largest third-party advertiser in the entire country. Yeah. Larger advertising budget that we spent on the election than even most of the public sector unions in Canada. So that's unprecedented. This last election was the most important in a generation. Yeah. So we stepped up. We even had TV ads during the Stanley Cup playoffs. Yeah, very difficult actually to do that, much less expensive. So we do have a Hail Mary project coming up, probably the biggest thing we've ever done. We're working on that now. But anyway, if you want to help the CCFR continue to punch the government in the face, you can do that at ccfr.ca, become a member or donate.
Yes, and you guys have a great merch store too. Like it's a great way to show your support for the firearms community. Quite literally wear it on your sleeve. And the shirts are fun. Tracy sends me a few every now and then, and I just love them, but I have to fight my daughters for them. So the CCFR merch store is wonderful. Rod, thanks so much for coming on the show. I appreciate all the work that you do on behalf of law-abiding Canadians. Whether they're a member of the CCFR or not, you're fighting for the firearms community, and you're so right. Now is not the time for division and purity tests. We all need to work in the right direction to make sure that we can still hang on to our hunting and sports shooting heritage.
Yeah, I really appreciate the opportunity, Sheila.
Thanks, Rod.